Welcome to the Human Cloud Podcast, the spot where leaders come to drive the freelance economy forward. Now, today we have Barbara, CEO of AVOXI, and she is literally the perfect person for right now, meaning literally this exact Wednesday. And the reason for that is that unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen the remote pushback, specifically Amazon CEO Andy Jassy coming out and saying, we're going to go back to pre-COVID, specifically everyone get to the office. Now, we don't think he's entirely wrong, right? We'd be pretty dumb if we thought that Amazon CEO was an idiot, but rather he's not seeing the full picture. And that full picture is that the workforce, it's changing. And remote is one component of that workforce that in certain situations, which in most situations is pretty damn good. And when looking at Barbara and AVOXI, the one thing I really want you to remember before we get rolling is that this is happening, and specifically her company, they're happening at scale, specifically over 5,000 clients. So this is not some cute little startup or nomad group. This is a large company enabling massive outcomes at scale because of remote. So I want you to sit back, enjoy, then most importantly, go drive some change. Real quick, before we get started, I want to tell you about Uncompany, the leading marketing and design freelance platform in the US. Now, Uncompany is way more than a marketplace or a platform. Uncompany is a frictionless freelance system. And what I mean by that is they have an on-deck service that builds custom freelance talent pools for you that you can deploy in seconds. So what does that mean? They don't just find you the right freelancers, they build you your own custom freelance talent pools that you can deploy in seconds. So I want you to go to weareuncompany.com right now and tell them Human Cloud sent you. Barbara, thank you so much for hopping on. So listen, the assumed theme for this, in terms of me going into this, is going to be remote 101, right? You are the remote, whatever we want to call it, queen, king, savior, whatever. And timing wise, why this is so perfect is because for, I would say, over the last 6 months, there's been a little bit of a remote reckoning, I would say.
Like a little backlash about remote.
Backlash. That's the word I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for, right? And yes. And so timing is perfect. And just for you listeners out there, I mean, Barbara and I could talk for 30 to 60 minutes just on life. And the reason is because we both worked remote so much that we have so many cool cultural experiences, right? And so I'm going to try to force us, Barbara, to stay on task. But for you listeners out there, listen, we could talk about like every country based off of the exposure you've had.
Probably we can.
Yeah. So let's start this off by you just giving an overview of you, Barbara, an overview of AVOXI, and then I think I know naturally where it's going to go.
Sure. Yeah, we'll talk about I'd love to talk about remote. All right. So just a little bit about me. So I'm the CEO of AVOXI. We're about a 160-person company. We operate across 5 different continents. I have about 50% of my employees that are in the United States, 50% that are outside the United States. We're a remote first company, meaning I'm sitting here in an office today. This is a real background, not a fake background, actually. I'm sitting here in an office. This is the only physical office, though, that we have in the whole company around the world. And we use it in a very unique way. We use it more of like an event center. So we have trainings here, we have team summits, we have lots of different activities where we bring people together from all of our, from wherever they're living. So I really enjoy that. That's really been a great practice that we have. And then what AVOXI does is we provide cloud voice solutions to customers all over the world, and we plug those in specifically into the contact center. So the best way to think about us is if you have a contact center agent and if you have a customer and they're in 2 different countries, our platform is going to be a great fit for you. And we're going to enable, you to be able to reach your client in an elegant and simple software-driven way, no matter where they are around the world. And in a way that they're going to feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling you, or you can call them back and they're going to answer your call based on how our technology is working.
I love it. And let me ask some clarifying questions. So when you mention the call center, the person actually answering the call, is that an Avoxi employee,
Oh,
or are you guys
yeah.
just the software?
Thanks for the clarification. No, we don't offer the agents. We just do the software. So,
Just the
and we
software.
actually just do infrastructure. So we offer the voice infrastructure. So we integrate into, like, there's a zillion contact center platforms. They have names like Genesys, Five9, Avaya, Nice and Contact. So we AWS Connect. So we integrate into those platforms, and we just provide the voice channel. That's our whole business is around the voice channel.
So, and your background, Barbara,
Mhm.
how'd you get into this? Right?
Yes.
Did you just fall out of a tree and how'd it happen?
Yes. No, so my background's always been in communication, some type of communications and infrastructure. Funny thing, when I started my career, the voice was not really the growing area. And some people, voice was not really a thing. What was really, really growing was data services. So think about, like, the internet was actually new that time. All these different services were coming around to connect companies together and allow them to communicate in different ways. And so I worked in those businesses. And I usually actually used to work in really big companies most of my career, in product management, product development, product marketing. And most of the companies I work for were, say, like over $1 billion, over two, three, 4,000 employees. And I came to Avoxi in 2016, end of 2015, early 2016, because I wanted to know if I could kind of work in this smaller environment, if I could really make a difference in, a $10 million company versus $1 billion company. And I sort of thought, well, if I couldn't do it, if I didn't like it, I would just go back to corporate. That'd be fine. But I've really loved it. I've really loved it. I feel like we can be so agile. We can do so many different things to really help customers. And that's a little bit about how I got here and how we came up with this voice service. And the gist of it is we actually solve customers' problems. So connecting these clients with voice is something that not a lot of people are focusing on with a software mindset like we are at Avoxi. And so we're able to go in and offer something that's really different to our clients. So we're taking advantage of that opportunity.
And who, Barbara, the end, whoever's paying, right?
Hmm.
So are they large company, mid company?
Yeah,
What are
mostly
they?
big,
Mostly
mostly big
big, right?
companies. Yeah, so like think of like the top 10 global hotel brands. We
Yeah.
support a lot of their reservation centers, which are all around the world. And of course, they have hotels all around the world. Or we have some airline customers. We have large shipping and logistics companies that have ports all around, the world, and they have really expensive pallets of goods, and someone needs to call and ask them, can we get that out of customs, and how fast can you ship that to me, because I have, something else waiting on it. So yeah, mostly large. I'd say usually customers that are over 1,000 employees and have some type of presence in 5 or more countries.
And so here's why I want to make sure I clarify that. So one of the big sort of blockers that we're going to hit on, right? And is that remote is interesting, right? Remote is cool, but it can't happen in this environment. And what I mean by that, right, is I started in Silicon Valley in 2016, right? And so my eyes were open to, oh my God, I'm going to change the world. And then
Hmm.
I went to Microsoft and learned real quick, hey, there's a social app and there's a large company. And these are two totally different environments. And so all the cute, Silicon Valley AI, all that stuff is cute,
Yeah,
but that's not going to move the needle in a large company. And
right.
so I want to make sure I call that out. So you're dealing with these large, large, large,
Yep.
large companies
With remote employees.
with their
Hmm.
own fully global, exactly. And so
And
let's
very well, very well. Like, we get so much good feedback from our clients about our employees and how they work with them and their knowledge and their engagement and how they're all on the same page and all on the same team, even though they're in different locations.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's hit the head. So
Hmm.
I want you to bring us back to that moment that you decided, hey, we're going to be a remote first company.
Hmm.
And I want to add a little bit of clarity too. So you're also not sitting somewhere that is a tech desert. And what I
Yeah,
mean by that is you're in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, you
right.
got Georgia Tech, you got
Yeah, yeah,
Microsoft HQ2 is down the
yes,
street from you.
yeah,
Google's there.
right.
There's talent here. You could
Oh,
easily
yeah.
set up shop. It's half the price of SF in New York.
Uh-huh.
This is a good place to set up an in-person
Yeah,
shop.
yeah,
And you and I are 20 minutes away, which is funny because we're taking this remote, right? So we could be in person. But so bring
right.
us back to that moment when you decided we're going to be remote first. And if we can, I mean, let's tell us about how scary, if it was, right? Like I assume everyone wasn't
Yeah,
just,
it's
yay, it's going to
it's
work.
so interesting because AVOXI has always operated in a global basis for years and years and years. And meaning that we've always had a presence in South Africa where we had employees in South Africa and a physical office. Used to have a physical office. We had a physical office in Costa Rica and employees in Costa Rica. And then we had our employees in Atlanta, Georgia, and Charleston, Charleston, South Carolina, were our two main physical offices. So we had those places, and then we had a small amount of people, very small, say like sub 10%, that maybe didn't fit into one of those places. And I'm talking about, say, like 2015, 2016, 2017 timeline. And what happened to us is two things. Number one, main catalyst was COVID. So in COVID, we had to all go home, right, all around the world. A lot of our office leases actually came up in COVID. So like our lease in South Africa sort of expired. And we're like, well, should we give it up or renew it? Because, well, we don't really know what we're doing here. We don't know what's going to happen. So what was interesting is that so we started giving up some of this physical office space. We ended up sort of refocusing as Atlanta being the main office space we had. And that was really just a practical thing. But what we found was that when we moved everybody to the desktop, everybody is looking in a screen just like we're looking in here. Everybody is the same square. That all of a sudden we had a lot more engagement from the people that were in South Africa and that were in Costa Rica and that didn't sit in Atlanta. Because everybody was the same. Everybody was on a level playing field. And we actually had better conversations than when we were like 20 people in Atlanta in a conference room who looked like ants to the people who are on the screen who look like a giant head, on the screen. So we all of a sudden we started having better performance out of all of our employees. Instead of just having the core Atlanta folks who are sort of driving performance from the HQ, we started having more balanced performance and engagement from across the rest of our employee base around the world. So that was one real big learning or benefit we had from having everybody be remote. And then now that just started to build the playbook we have for remote practices, which include things like if you have like 4 or 5 different people on a conference call and only 2 of them are in Atlanta and 3 of them are other places, everybody take it from their desk so that everybody can have the same type of conversation.
And so one thing that that's very interesting to me in this conversation is that let me ask a question before I say it. Do your customers, and I'm going to say it in a very, sorry, but it's not going to be too corporate. But do your customers give a shit that you're remote?
Mm-mm.
No, right? Okay.
No, they don't care.
That's perfect.
Here's what they love. They love that we have what I call a follow the sun model.
Ooh, tell me more.
What this means is that we allow all of our employees to work in their normal business daylight hours. So I have employees in the Philippines. I don't make the employees in the Philippines come to work at 9 p.m. The employees in the Philippines come to work at 9 a.m. their time. So our customers like that we have, and by the way, you can really get a premium talent by offering that, particularly outside of the United States. So we have a follow the sun model. My customers care that I have talented, engaged, knowledgeable people that they can reach out to if they have a problem any time of the business day all around the world.
That's so fascinating. And now let me ask you, let's talk about your full team, right? What are, because you keep mentioning that, hey, when your customers want to reach out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bring me into your world. Are these account managers,
Yeah.
engineers? What's the sort of company composition look like?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a group of software developers. Those folks they're not really follow the sun in that way because they're just working on projects and different code that they're building. But on the follow the sun model, we have account managers, we have account executives who run our customer relationships and our prospect relationships. Those folks are based in different places all around the world, whether it's United States time zone or European and Africa time zone or Asia Pac time zone. They're based that way. And then we also have, that's a big chunk of our headcount and of our employees. And we also have everyone that goes into what I call operations. So this is people that help you get trained and use our software, and they do onboarding and they do customer project management if you have a really big implementation. Those folk, the implementation folks. And then we also have support folks. So this is if something's not working correctly, you have a question about how to set something up that's already kind of in production, the support team. So those folks are all follow the sun model in multiple different places around the world.
And so so this is why, I'm so glad I asked that, because at first, when we first started talking, I wanted to make sure, you listeners know that you're serving large companies, right? So
Oh
that's a
yeah.
massive, massive challenge.
Yep.
The second is you're also customer facing,
Mm-hmm.
but in a very interesting way where that's not the core of your business necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very important, and it's
Right.
implementation.
Yep.
So this isn't like a light conversation. This is a very mission critical
It
problem
is.
solving
Yes.
role. So I wonder, and I'm going to throw a couple, how do you say, like buzzers, blockers at you.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Um, but the first thing is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
How in the world do
Yeah.
you rein in consistency
Yeah.
across all these different regions?
Right. So many great ways we do consistency. So first of all, we always say our our software is what we deliver to customers, and then it is empowered by the Avoxi experts. And what I mean by that is we try to automate every single thing we can. We try to put every single thing we can into our software platform so that it is very clean, it is very easy to use, it has an inherent consistency in it because of the way we develop the software platform and the way we deploy that to clients. And we offer a lot of self service features to clients. So that's one kind of key thing, having that software mindset. The other piece is the human piece on that is we then have to make sure that all the employees, I always say, if you lined up 160 people in a big line, that's a lot of brains. That's a lot of people that can help you solve a problem. So how do you make sure those folks are all going in the right direction? They're all moving in the same way. And we do a lot of different practices around that. I mean, we have a weekly all hands call every Thursday for 45 minutes every single week. We have people join that call from 5, 6 a.m. in their local time zone up to 11 p.m. in their local time zone, and every time zone in between. And it is a great way for us to provide context and to help everybody understand what we're trying to get to, what are the key principles about how we want to operate. And then when all those employees are making a zillion decisions every single day, you want to ensure they have enough context to make those in the right direction.
So
So then
interesting.
we do a lot of coaching. Everything in this industry, not if you're remote or in person, is recorded. Everything is recorded, right? All phone calls are recorded in the customer service world. All your screens are recorded. Your email is recorded. Everything is really recorded. You can see every single thing you do in a CRM, every action you take. So you have to really use all that data as a leader and as a manager wherever your employees are. And you have to look at it and you have to say, okay, let's talk about how this is really performing. Let's look at our metrics. Let's listen to calls with customers and coach on how those calls are going. And we do a lot of that work. But you would have to do that work anyway. But we do a lot of that. We do a lot of it, and it helps us be consistent.
Yeah. So the two things that I take away is intentionality and setting up the stage. And so a lot of times when I'll never forget one of my first big gulps, first ever time like hopping into a real company, right? And I think I told you I freelanced prior. So hop into a real company, and from an onboarding perspective, there was so much like non-essential stuff that you could tell someone had just done this to tell their boss that, hey, look, I built an onboarding guide. But there was so little like actually, I don't know, correlated to success type onboarding things. And so I want to make sure I call that out from your perspective. So you've you've been able to build the stage, and you've heavily leveraged, software. So I want to get straight into the technology portion of this. And this is on two fronts. So I'm going to frame some of the ways that I've heard about call centers, but also outsourcing and global talent. So it's no secret that, and I won't use exact logos, but I'll say some of the top five consulting firms, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret. They will pay 1/10 for software development, call centers, program management to developing countries,
Right.
and knowing that they're paying 1/10, and so when they have 10 workers, maybe two will be good, but we're going to
Yeah.
overpay. And you know what? Screw it, right?
Right.
And so what I want to, and I want to kind of have that just in the back of your
Mm-hmm.
brain,
Mm-hmm.
because as we dig into technology, one of the how do I say it, like candies is, hey, AI is going to automate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see it over and over in call centers. We can get rid of the humans. We can finally get rid of the humans, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
you have had a front seat at AI,
Right.
automation, RPO. You've been
Yeah.
at the table for this. So I kind of want to ask you, both internally and within the AVOXI software, give us your lowdown on technology and
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah, and
How
how it's
much?
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we see it. So I'm gonna answer one thing before that about the people who are we're gonna hire 10 people and two are gonna be good and eight are gonna be bad. So I sort of reject that philosophy.
Yeah.
And I reject it because of this, because what I found and what I believe like the core of my being is that most people want to feel like they're doing a good job every day. They want to feel like what they're doing matters. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want to, shut down their computer and be like, okay, you know what, that was a good day because I actually helped these people and I really made a difference. So if you can harness that in every person, then you're going to have great productivity and you're going to have a great outcome. So we think of it as like every single person on our team has to be good, no matter where they live, no matter what country they're in, no matter where they came from, no matter their background. And so we really work to that. And we spend a lot of time, on that from a leadership team perspective. Now to answer your question, where we see I mean, we see a lot of great opportunities for AI to really improve productivity and really help make the humans better. So from our perspective, in voice, let's talk about the voice channel, this old channel. No one calls, no one does voice, except there's a ton of voice. Because if you actually have like a tricky problem and you've already done like 6 emails back and forth and you've already chatted like for an hour and like you just need to, if you could just talk to someone real time in a two-way conversation, this should be resolved in like 20 minutes. So that's where voice comes in, and that's why it's a crucial channel for call centers. Now, the problem with voice and call centers is it is very expensive. The reason it's expensive is because the agent, the human cost. The human cost is the largest part of the call. However, as you have AI coming in, we see two different use cases. One use case is what's called agent assist. So it takes, and we're using some of this in my team too. So where it takes maybe you have a more someone that's more junior in their career. They don't have quite as much experience. You can actually have them operate at a little higher level by giving them AI assist, where AI is helping them, answer questions that might not be at the top of their head yet, but it's giving them those answers more readily. And then the second thing is AI offload. So that is somebody calls in and they don't have a tricky problem that they've spent, 2 hours trying to figure out. They just want to know quick status of something, but they just picked up the phone because maybe they're driving. And so, they don't want to try to type it because they'll, crash. So they just want to call quick, get a quick status, and AI can give them a quick status, and then that call's done. It doesn't need to waste an agent's time. So those are the two main use cases we see in the contact center. But what's good about that is then that allows folks running different brands and running contact centers and running customer experience to say, okay, instead of thinking of voice as this expensive thing that I can only afford if something's really blowing up, I can actually offer voice as a channel just like I offer all my other channels to the customer. So then the customer can pick how they want to communicate with me to best solve their problem. And that's where we really see the big advantage of AI coming. I don't think it's going to erase all the people, but I do think it'll make the people more efficient.
And tell me about the actual implementation for you on that
Hmm.
side. And so,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, like what does that look like? Does that
Yep.
look like you all are building custom AI applications? There's off the shelf options.
Yep. Yep.
Tell me about
So,
that side of it.
I'll say there's two buckets for us. One bucket is in the corporate side of the business. Think about marketing, sales folks, our software developers. They're using a variety of tools that are AI infused that have been, they're open source, they're purchased, that essentially help make them a little more efficient. Like you could draft something and have an AI check it for you. You could, throw something into AI and get an initial response. You can screen scrape a website if you're trying to find research on a prospect or client with an AI plugin now that dumps that data into a spreadsheet for you. So there's all these sort of efficiencies going on in the workplace on the more the corporate side of what we're doing. On the operations and service side, what we're doing is we're trying to use our own software and our own platform to make information more readily available to our agents. How do we actually present information to them and tie it together in a way that allows them to solve problems more quickly for customers? And those things we're building ourselves.
Now, how let's bring that to a sort of internal competitive advantage, right? So if you're the executive trying to take advantage of that, right? You've made a very, very bold decision in that we are a remote first company. and you're dealing with large companies, you're dealing with cutting edge technology, and you're dealing with a really tough industry, right? Like this is your industry is not a brand new write all the rules that you
No,
want.
right.
No,
Yes.
you're
It's
dealing with an
competitive.
established industry.
It's competitive. It's mission critical, all of those things.
Yeah.
That's right.
So bring us into the mind where you are thinking about remote versus in person and how this all comes together. Like, do you
Right.
think a remote environment helps with that? Do you think it hurts with
Yeah.
that?
I
Yeah.
actually think it's better. I actually think it's better because it allows me to find the best people all around the world. And that's really, really important for me to do things that are innovative for our clients.
And how
So
do
I
you
can,
find best? Like, because this is one of
yeah.
the things in by best,
Hmm.
smartest,
Yeah, smart.
business.
Go get, yeah, yeah. It's like people who are very smart, people who are self-motivated, folks who will do, employees will give you a lot if they feel like it's worth their time, right? So I would say like the extra 15 minutes. Somebody it's like, I'm done, but I have something in my brain. I have to finish it out. I'm just going to spend that extra 15 minutes in getting that done. You start to get those little extras from employees because they really care about what they're doing. And those are the people that you want. You want the people that can't get it out of their brain. They have to get out of their brain because they have to help this person or they have to finish out this idea. And those are the type of people that we look for at AVOXI.
And what do you have to give up in order for that? Do you have to give up feeling like you have control? Do you have to give up a 9 to 5 structure? Do you have to,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, all that. I mean, so we work more like a shift structure.
Tell me more.
Right. So, for things like customer service or operations or implementation or even sales, we have certain hours that all the different employees have to work because that's when they're going to be working with their clients. So we naturally have a shift. Like I have some people who only want to work like weekends, or some people that want Mondays off, and so we sort of can roll through those shifts. That we have the flexibility to do that.
No, so let's dig into like, hey, I'm the executive that has been always in person first, right?
Hmm.
And let's say that I'm living in Atlanta or Seattle or San Francisco, right? I've never getting the right type of talent's never been a problem for me. It's starting
Hmm.
to be now,
Yeah.
and I've always been able to just have people over there. So I can
Hmm.
walk by. I know they're going to be there.
Yeah.
But walk us through the first 30 days of like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that are a must? What are some of the things that I'm going to be scared of, but that I just have to get over?
Yeah.
Bring us into these first 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to preface something by saying a remote environment isn't for every human,
Hmm.
right? Some people can't do it. So you have to start with saying like, we're a remote company. We operate in this way. And we have a framework that we wrote up. It's called Avoxi's Remote Work Framework. And it basically says things like, we are on our cameras. So if you hate cameras, and you
Being
hate having microphones and you hate being in videos, then probably this is not going to be a good place for you because all of our training is that way. And you really can't train people and not see their eyes. I mean, you have to be able to see people and see if they're understanding what you're saying and be interactive. So we are very honest with that when we're recruiting. So I would say first is like get your framework together, your remote framework of how do you want to be remote? You have to be reliable on when you're supposed to be at work. You have to have a stable internet connection. If something happens in wherever you're working and your internet goes out, you have to have a backup. You can't just call in and say I'm not going to be there today because my internet's out in my house. Well, that's not going to work. You have to then go find, someplace. So there's a few things like that you have to do from a remote, set up what those frameworks are and how you're going to operate. And then you also then have to figure out how are you going to keep people engaged on a daily and on a weekly and on a monthly and a quarterly basis so that they stay engaged. So we do a lot of stand up type meetings, whereas you have a daily check-in meeting with almost every team in our business has almost a lot of the employees have daily meetings where they're checking in with their boss, with their team. They're talking about what they're doing for the day, anything that's challenging them. All of our employees have a regular one-on-one schedule with their direct supervisor. So they have dedicated time where they talk to their supervisor about how things are going, what metrics look like, what are their plans, what are their challenges, where are things not working the way we want from a performance management perspective. So you've got to really work all those things around your philosophy. And you might not have felt like you had to do things like one-on-one meetings when you could just see everybody and you could walk by people in your office. But if you're remote, you have to do those things.
So let me ask you a question. If and so a lot of what I'm implicitly gathering from what you're saying is that there might have to be a fundamental shift in how you view the power dynamic of
Yeah.
boss and employee, right? And let's face it, the power shift has mostly been they're my employee, they'll do what I want, right? That's
Mm,
just been the norm. I'll use like some data around if you look at millennials, Gen Z, yada yada yada. They're not okay with that, right? They're a little more no. I'm an individual, right? Like
right.
so they're away from that. But so a lot of what I'm hearing implicitly is that the onus of, I guess you could say, responsibility does shift from the employee just having to be there and make your boss happy
Hmm.
to actually flipping it on its head. And one of the things you said in the beginning was that um, every individual wants to go above and beyond,
Hmm.
but that's not always right. So help me tie this together, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a very big, remember, this is a
Yeah.
very, very big insight that I don't want to just comb over.
Right. Right. So, I mean, just I at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the employers have a certain amount of power always because they're the ones issuing paychecks. So they're always going to
True.
retain that. So I don't think you need to
True.
be scared that's going to go away because you're the one who's paying people. Um, but it is really, I think, up to the leadership and the management and the supervisors to make the employee want to be there and to make sure they understand why what they're doing matters and how what they do links to a bigger picture and a bigger vision and something that's more impactful. So in that way, I do think the employees have a lot of power. And I also feel like the employees have a lot of influence on you can have employees that aren't delivering much at all for you if you're not really, aligning them into doing the right behavior and measuring them in the right way.
Yeah.
So I also think labor is pretty tight, and it's always been hard to find good people in any labor market. In any labor market, it's always hard to find good people, and so you want to find them, and you want to retain them, and you want to have them be long-term employees for you. So that's really on the onus of the company to do that. And in that way, they have to make sure that all these other pieces are supporting around the employee.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. So I'm going to ask a funny question. And so we hit the technology aspect,
Mhm.
right? So done. Check that off. We've already hit the tech aspect. This one, we have not prepped you for.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I myself wasn't prepped for it.
All right.
And it's a little bit timing sensitive. So
Mhm.
in 2026, this might not be relevant. So I'm
Mhm.
definitely not
Okay.
following best practice. But
All
so
right.
we're sitting in a very weird economy right now.
Mhm.
Just got off the phone with the founder, who I would say I highly trust, and his analysis was, I think we're in a recession, right? So we're in a really weird time right now,
Yeah.
and globally we are. What I'm really interested to hear from you is, have you noticed a shift in the last, let's say, 4 years? Because you mentioned 2016, but then
Mhm.
COVID is when you were remote
Mhm.
first rather than
Yep.
having offices. But so, have you noticed any shifts? And what of those shifts, what's been the impact on both your business, your customers, but
Mhm.
also your remote work, the remote side of your business? So, yeah, what have you noticed in
Yeah,
the
on
past
the like
year?
like economically, what are we seeing?
Yeah, because a lot of people would say, hey, this remote stuff was cute until the
Oh,
recession
yeah.
came and everyone wanted a job. And my answer is, well, that's not the case, right? In
I actually
fact,
think it's better. I mean, I actually think it's more efficient model. It really is a more efficient model to be remote than to not be remote. And even though you might have leaders of big companies, I'll say, do a lot of speeches about sending everyone back to work. Many functions in those companies have been remote for a long time and will still be remote. So, I feel like you have to just understand that. Like for us, it's a very efficient model. And I think that as we're going to, we always want to be more efficient. We always want to be able to, scale our business. And so to me, if you're wanting to scale and you want to be more efficient, remote is very helpful to do that. Now, another thing about remote is you can have folks working different time zones, like I said in the follow the sun model, you can do that with functional teams as well. And you can pick up a little bit more hours in the day. So I have done marketing projects where I had, a marketing team in the UK, and they would start work on a project 6 hours before I even woke up. And then they would work 6 hours, and then I would come into work and I'd pick up where they worked, and I'd work another 6 or 8 hours, and we were able to actually extend the business day to be more like a 12 or 14-hour day versus just like an 8-hour day. So we picked up some efficiencies doing that. We do that as well here at AVOXI with our accounting team. We have some of our accounting resources that are based in South Africa. We have some of our accounting resources that are based in the US time zone, and that allows us to really extend the business day on that capability.
That's an interesting. So I'm going to make sure we quote that right, with the ability to extend the business day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually think that is a sneaky, and very subtle, but a massive, massive impact, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what, and just quickly, like, have you noticed, are remote workers working more during this
They do
weird
work more.
recessionary time? Are they
No,
working
yeah.
less? Like, what?
I
How would
think,
you
well,
compare 2020 to now?
to now, oh gosh. I mean, I think remote workers always work a bit more than if workers in offices, because I just think they have. Now, sometimes that can be a little challenging for remote workers, right? You have to actually might have some conversations about they need to have some separation and close their computer. But you tend to work more because you're around your computer more, and so you tend to do more because it's there and it's easily accessible. I know when I work out of my house, I tend to work a bit later because I don't know, I just do. I'm like, oh, I can just finish that one more thing, and all of a sudden it's like maybe an hour later than I meant to work, but I'm already home, so it's not bothering me as much. So I do think the remote employees typically work more than if you're in an office, and then they just don't have a commute and they don't have some of those other things that take up their time. You get a little bit of that back if you're the remote employee, if you're the remote employer. But as far as now versus COVID, I don't really have a big difference. I haven't really seen a big difference. But we manage our team really, really closely, and we know what people are doing. We have lots of different metrics. This is an elite team we have here at AVOXI. So, we have some really strong players, but we also coach for that. And if someone's not a good fit, they're not good. They're not a good fit.
Yeah. Let's that's awesome. Let's hit the head on the backlash. Okay. So, like you mentioned, a couple big names getting on stages saying everyone's going back to the office.
Yeah.
Let's hit the head on your response to some of the backlash. And I wonder if you think that they're just dumb. Is it, contextual on the industry, contextual on the region, contextual on something?
Gosh.
Are
Well,
they dumb, misinformed? Like, how would
it
you respond
it
to
to
backlash?
me, it's really just. I had a CEO a long time ago in my career who told me that, and he believed this to his core, and he's a fantastic CEO, by the way. He
Yeah.
was like, yeah, jeans. I mean, if people wear jeans to work, there's no way they're going to actually be able to do their job. There's no way. This is okay, and I'm not all that old. I'm
That's
not young,
awesome.
but I'm not all that old. This is like, say, 20 years ago, right? There's no way they're going to be able to do their job because they have jeans on, and so that's why we don't have jeans Fridays here, even though all of our other, all the other companies in town have jeans Fridays. We don't have that. Or people used to be really obsessed with like the dress code in offices all the time. Like, I remember being invited to be part of like dress code, like, and dress code is usually all about like what women wear, by the way. Not usually, it's usually not like a guy dress code very often in the world. So it was always about like, how wide can their straps be? Is it 2 inches? Is it 1 inch? How short are the skirts? Is it 2 inches above the knees, fingertips, all these things? And now people just don't even think about that anymore. No one talks about that. No one cares. No one cares what people wear. No one cares. I mean, there's a lot of this dress for your day. If you're going to go meet with an external client, yes, wear something that's more professional. If you're going to be working, you wear what. So I just feel like it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of like this. Some of these folks are like, we grew up in this organization where we got mentored by walking around. We talked to our bosses by going to their office in an ad hoc fashion, not necessarily scheduling a meeting. We grew up this way, and that's how we learned. So then that's what we expect. That's how we expect everybody else to learn. And I just don't think people have to learn that way anymore.
So bring up the Jeans Friday. That is
True.
so funny. It is true. No, no,
And the
it's true.
straps, the straps, tank tops, are those okay? Is it two
That
inches? Is
is,
it 1 inch?
yeah.
I mean,
And that shifted. I mean, so when I grew up in Boston, so if you're in the office at 8 o'clock, you're late. At least 7:59 is the latest you can get there. And then, yeah, I remember like yesterday we had Jeans Fridays. But so my first interview in Silicon Valley, I remember I asked the guy, I was like, hey, what do I wear? And he was
yeah,
like, dude, you're in San Francisco.
clothes.
And I was like, I don't know what that meant. So I started Googling, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
San Francisco outfit, San Francisco tech outfit, right? And I'm looking at Reddit threads and all that. And I still didn't know what to wear. And so I show up and I'm feeling so uncomfortable because in my head, I'm like, I'm not wearing a sport jacket, but I'm wearing a button down or something, right?
Yeah,
And I show up and one, no one's in the office till 10:30. So that was
right.
different. But then two, everyone's rocking whatever the hell they want.
They
So
just wear whatever they want. Right,
whatever you
right,
want. So,
right.
because it comes down to the work. But so that's a really good kind of analogy, right? Of
Hmm.
like, hey, from a remote perspective, like
Yeah,
you're used to not be able to wear jeans.
yeah.
Um, Now I
I mean,
wonder sort of
and
the last,
everything's changing. Like, think about the kids. Like, my kids, I have 3 kids. My kids don't have books
yeah.
in school. They do not have books. They have a laptop, they have a notebook where they take notes, but they don't have books because the way they're learning is changing. So I feel like a lot of this is just an evolution on how people work and how society works and how people
Yeah.
learn and how you communicate and collaborate, which is different from, what was happening 15 years ago.
So I got two more questions, okay? And this first one is related to that. So, like you said, there's a shift to digital and video and remote. That is not deniable. It's impossible to deny that. Um, in terms of that shift, when you're looking at Avoxi's competitive advantage, you're dealing with large companies, and as we both know, that's a long sales cycle, and it's a trust-based relationship and a
Mhm.
trust-based sell, and so your customers really need to trust you, and part of that trust is you have to show them that you're ahead of the curve for them. Tell me about, do you think by having a remote environment, do you have a competitive advantage, and have you seen that competitive advantage play out from to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, the competitive piece would be just that we are in all these different time zones. And we can follow a lot of different types of cultures because of that, right? So if we have customers that have contacts in Asia, a lot of our global customers have teams in like Europe and Asia and Latin America and the US because they're spread out everywhere as well, just the nature of being global businesses. So the fact that we can interface with them, with our customers in different regions and with different time zones, and actually just with different cultures, that it might be different how you communicate in Asia is different than how you communicate in Latin America and how you communicate in Europe. And so being able to offer those different methods and people to our customers actually does help us out. It really does.
That is such a good point, and yeah, that is such a good point, and it's I mean, it sounds so simple, but just like the
Hmm.
word global and the fact that
Right.
we're living in a global, like it's so simple, but it is such a massive impact, and I say we take it for granted because we operate on every single continent, right? And
Hmm.
and that's just freelance is inherently
Right.
remote and inherently so
Hmm.
that's just never been a problem. I've always been able to be fluent. But a quick example where boy can that go wrong if you don't have that cultural
Right.
fluency is I was in Saudi Arabia, and there might have been a fellow Westerner who had his leg over his other leg with the sole facing up.
Oh,
Right, right? Exactly. So look, I mean that destroys a deal. That
yeah.
immediately
Right.
destroys a deal. So that's an extreme one, right? A light
Yeah.
one is, hey, you know that if you're in Singapore, say la after yes and no, and they'll like you more, and then you can
Hmm.
whip up the hierarchy, and they'll so
Right.
the little things. But as we get to the last question, I really, or what is the last question? From your perspective, it could be internal, it could be external. It's really clear now that you're solving extremely hard challenges, meaning you have large company clients. You're
Hmm.
in an industry that is not brand new, so you can't F up. And you're at the cutting edge of AI and different technologies. So what I really wonder is, what are a couple of your biggest wins? And they could be,
Hmm.
like I mentioned, they could be
Yeah.
internal facing, external facing. But
Yeah.
what would you say are some of your biggest wins?
I mean, really, from a business perspective, our biggest win is that we were growing really strongly. I mean, we have really strong revenue growth. We have really strong client growth. We have really strong repeat purchases from our clients and repeat projects, and they continue to give us more business because this system and our software platform is really delivering for them. So that's probably the biggest thing. I think maybe a secondary thing is we've really been able to create such a great culture in the business. And we've been able to offer, a really great place to work and make a difference to so many people around the world. And we've been able to enhance what their employment options are because we hire people in Vietnam or the Philippines or, South Africa or the Netherlands. And we really don't care too much where you're located. We really just care who you are. So I think those are probably the biggest wins that we have.
I love it. Last question is kind of funny. Are the Braves going to figure it out or what? They're
I don't
really
know.
shit the bed.
I don't know. I don't know about this season. I would say no.
We had my brother-in-law, really nice guy. Part of one of our wedding gifts was he got like front row seats to the Braves, right? And it was Barbara. It was incredible. It was incredible. But the poor guy, what I didn't tell him was the Braves suck right now. Cooney wasn't playing. It was rough. It was rough.
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah. They come back every so often, but they never have lasting seasons. They have a really good season, and then they never last more than like a year or 2 years. I think they trade out all the good players. I don't know,
they break
but
in there. No, they just get hurt. I don't know what it is.
yeah,
If it's what was it? Ozuna gets a DUI, Cooney gets hurt. I mean, come on, these keep whatever.
right.
But listen, Barbara, most important question is where can our listeners find you and AVOXI?
Yeah. So you can always find us online on our website, www.avoxi.com. And you can come in. We're happy to chat with you about your communication needs and your call centers around the world.
I love it. Barbara, thank you for hopping on.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.